1. Welcome to Made for More Living.
One small step for man.
With Johnny Jennings.
Kick the tires and light the fires, Big Daddy.
The fastest and most exciting hour of news, events, and real estate in Northern California.
And this is a fact that was proved.
Online at madeformorerealty.com.
Does everybody know what time it is?
Get ready. Here we go.
On the show today, we have, Matt, another author. And this one, this is somebody that I was introduced by a dear friend of mine. Dear friend, and he had, like, this guy, I don't know, Val and I have talked about it, but if we were to both pass, maybe we might ask his wife and him to watch our kids.
Wow.
So it was like
that's a big responsibility. Are you up for something like that?
No, not him, not Daniel, not the author. The guy who referred me to today's guest
okay.
is the one
let's clarify that.
Yeah, let's clarify that. Yeah. Daniel's like, what? I didn't realize that.
I'm like, I don't have any kids. I don't know if I'm qualified for this.
Slow down. What did I get into?
You did take the child development course, though, right?
No, I didn't take that.
You didn't.
That was the thing. I wanted to, but I couldn't.
Off the table.
Yeah.
Off the table. Well, with us today is Daniel Baarns, and he's done many things as a Renaissance man, but most recently, you authored a book, Just Start.
Yes, sir.
Right? So you mind telling us a little bit about the book, the genesis behind it, the whole story?
Yeah. So really the question that I'd love for you to think about as you're listening to this is, what has been one dream that you've been thinking about for more than 1 year that you haven't yet taken one action towards? Because for me, this book, like the idea of writing a book, it really seemed almost impossible to me. And 4 years ago, though, I had this dream of, wow, before I'm 35, I'd love to become an author. And then fast forward to the beginning of this year, and I went, I think 2025, I think this is the year where I'm actually going to do it. But then what happened was I had this moment where I was about to start that, and I had this overwhelming sense of not yet. And I'm a very action oriented, do the next thing. The idea of slowing down is sort of frustrating to me at points. And so the idea of going, but there was this sense was so strong that I went, if I ignore this, there's going to be consequences. This isn't by accident. Mm-hmm. So I went, okay, I'm just going to write other things. I had other projects happening. So I just went, I'm going to focus on those other things. And then March 26th of 2025, something shifted, something unlocked. And it was like, okay, now write the book. Because it's not like I'd been doing nothing. I've been writing every week for the last 18 months. So it wasn't that I wasn't doing anything while I was, quote, waiting.
Yeah.
But what I was doing was preparing for this moment. And I went, how could I really had this question in my mind, and I love experimenting with things. And I went, could I write a book in 2 months instead of it taking 8 to 10 months, which is what I expected. If I do this on my own, probably about an 8 to 10 month process. But if I invest in the right people, resources, and knowledge, could I do it in 2 months? And I went, man, I don't know. But I actually sent our friend a text, Adam, and went, hey, would you, I don't know if you'd be open to doing this, but this is the goal I have. I have a trip that I'm going to be going on in June. I want to have this done before I leave for 3 weeks and go to Central Asia and Europe. Are you on board? Would you be willing to help me with doing this? And he was. And it wasn't like writing the book was my full-time thing either. I have a mobile detailing business. I had a newsletter. I have a marketing agency. There are a lot of other things that are happening at the same time. But there was this one day while I was writing it, when I first had the kind of the genesis of the name, which the name of the book is Just Start, and it's available on Amazon. But the original idea was the age of choice. And the reason why is because I see so many young men in their 20s that think that they can do stuff later and it will be easier. And that's such a lie.
I agree.
And so I went, how? And this happened because I went to a business event for one day, and then it was having coffee with some friends after that event where that name emerged.
Just Start?
Yes.
It's a good name.
Yeah. Well, originally it was the Age of Choice, but what happened was I went, this name doesn't pass the I want blank test.
Yeah.
And it needs to be clear. When you hear Just Start, you kind of know what you're getting into.
Absolutely.
From just looking at the title. And that's the whole idea is if you have one dream, and then you identify just one action that can help you move towards it. And instead of saying someday, you take action today, because the two words that murder more dreams than anything else are someday and later.
Yeah.
And so as I was writing this, there was this one day about a month into writing the book, and this book ended up going through 12 different versions in 9 weeks.
Did you, by the way, when you wrote the book, did you use a company to help you with it, or was it all you in terms of design? Everything.
So it was primarily me, and I used it in creating the outline. I used a lot of AI tools in terms of just talking through and almost like building a second brain of going, here's all the milestones, here's all the keys, here's all the things that I've done in my life. And then here are key stories, because over the last 3 years, I've detailed over 600 vehicles and also read 120 audiobooks, because I want to learn and be around beautiful cars. And I was listening to these autobiographies going, what did they do in their 20s that helped them build a life to where me, as someone who has never heard of them until now, I'm going, I care about what they've done. But they made choices in their 20s that ultimately led to where I want to read their book. And so I realized all these things that I'm listening to, that's actually the question I'm asking. And no one has compiled what they did in their 20s combined with someone who's still in their 20s. I'm not in my 30s or 40s or 50s. I haven't, quote, made it in the grand scheme of everything, but I have achieved some things. And there are people who if I'm really honest, I go, you should go and read How to Win Friends and Influence People. You should read Never Split the Difference. You should read Unreasonable Hospital. You should read these people who have done other things.
Yeah.
And there is a 22-year-old who will listen to a 28-year-old rather than a 45-year-old. And so I feel a responsibility to go, this book needs to exist because there's someone who will listen to me and won't listen to those other people.
Yeah.
Even though I know, if I'm really honest with myself, I think they have a better perspective just based on their age. But there's also a responsibility that I have to go, hey, that's cool. They can do their thing. But there's also something unique about me and the way that I share my story and the journey that I've chosen to live that's going to resonate in a different way. And so I'm going to share that story.
Love it. So within 60 days, did you finish the book?
I did. Yeah, it was 9 weeks in total. So March 26th, then it launched on June 4th. And I did a Zoom launch party with less than 10 days of notice. There were 58 people on this Zoom launch party. It was only 15 minutes, but it was wild because there were so many people who believed in me along the way. Like there was one day where I had to stay up until I had a draft that I needed to have done to be able to then get it to the editor. And I had a vehicle that I needed to get up to detail at 7:30 in the morning. And it's 3:43 a.m. reading through this final draft being like, this has to be done today. And so there was an incredible level of urgency of like, every day matters. Like there has to be progress. So even though I flew to LA for a one-day conference and I was in Florida for 10 days visiting my brother and doing another conference, and I had a friend invite me to Hawaii, but while I'm in Hawaii, I'm still reading through my manuscript and like having people edit it. And so it's this massive like almost like a maelstrom of information where it's constant progress, but a whole lot of things happening at the same time.
That's so cool when you compress a timeline like that.
It's
like
pretty.
There's books written about it, right?
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing is I went, the book coming out in the time frame that it did is proof of concept. And the fact that 58 people with less than 10 days are like, you don't need thousands of people.
Yep.
But
just start.
Yeah. And I'm like, yesterday I got a text from a friend who sent me a picture of the book and was like, locked in, like, love it, brother. So it's still having that effect on people as they're continuing to read it.
Love it.
So
the analogy I use with people I speak with and in front of is a water bottle. So you can use anything. You can use a phone. You can use whatever. But imagine you're holding a water bottle out in front of you. You can hold that water bottle for a while, and the water bottle's not very heavy. But the longer you hold the water bottle, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, an hour, 3 hours, eventually that water bottle's just going to be too heavy to hold there any longer. And that's what procrastination is, the later, right?
Yeah.
It's like just making what you want to do that much heavier.
Yeah.
So freaking love it. Just Start. You can find it on Amazon.
Yes, sir.
And when we come back from the break, we're going to be talking about not only are you a published author, but you also have a newsletter.
Yes, sir.
All right, back after this.
So you may believe you have the nicest, best, most pristine, attractive home in the entire neighborhood. As soon as you put that for sale sign in the yard, offers are just going to be pouring in. People are going to be busting through your door to give you an offer on your home. But then it goes live, and what happened? No offers. It's crickets. Well, that's because it matters who you work with. Like, for instance, I have someone in my neighborhood, their home has been on the market for at least 3 months, and it's still sitting there without any offers. Again, it matters who you work with. That's why Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty, why they've been so successful with so many of our listeners, why they were voted #1 team in Roseville for 3 years in a row, why they've got over 1,000 5-star Google reviews. Go check them out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The proof is in the reviews. And so if you're interested in how Johnny Jennings and Made for More Realty can help you sell your home fast and for the most amount possible, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Again, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So we're back with Daniel Baarns, author of Just Start. Before we get into the newsletter that you wrote, here, hold up your book. It's not a massive tome, right?
No, it is not.
That's like a read when you're sitting there taking a dump.
We got on the back of toilets everywhere.
I'm just saying, hey, you're going to the
Just
bathroom?
start. Just enough time for you to take a crap.
Just start.
But Matt, on the break, Matt brought up a very, I think, poignant question.
You're having a conversation of, people not doing things in their 20s and waiting till they're in their 50s and 60s.
How old are you, Matt?
I am 47.
So wait until they're a ripe old age of 47 to get started.
But I have found in my life and people that I know that they're apprehensive or nervous or reluctant to really start any project because they think, because they're passionate about it, they're enthusiastic about it. This is something they care about. They want to do well. They want to make it almost perfect if possible. So that's hard to do, That's hard to do. So they're reluctant in getting started because they don't think they're ready to make it what is in their heart or in their mind.
So how do you overcome that? Do you address it in the book or?
Yeah, I don't address that specifically in the book, but I started a newsletter, and that has been probably one of the best things for overcoming that exact issue.
And it's also called Just Start.
Yes. Right? Yeah. If you go to juststartbook.com, both the book and the newsletter are both linked there. And the reason why I started the newsletter, though, is because when I had the idea, the dream of writing a book, I went, that feels impossible. So what could I do that's easier than that's lower stakes than that I could start that would get me to the point where I went, okay, I know ultimately I want to write a book. Writing a book seems impossible. What's like a mini version of a book? Well, a newsletter. And I went, okay, if I just force myself to write every single week, I know myself, I want things to be good, so I will get better with time. And there's this Mr. Beast-ism, which is if you do something 100 times and each time you do it you focus on just doing one thing better and you do that 100 times, eventually you will be good. And for me, I'm a year and a half into writing this newsletter. I'm only 78 newsletters in. So I still haven't even hit 100.
Yeah.
So I still am I still have there's more for me to grow in the way that I write. And when I first started, though, I remember thinking to myself, it was December of 2023, almost the beginning of 2024. And I had this dream back in 2021 of becoming an author, but I had taken no action towards it. And I think so many people, to Matt's point, we have this, I want it to be perfect. And because I'm afraid that it won't be perfect, what I do instead is nothing.
Yep.
And that is the biggest.
That's a trap.
It really is, because you ensure that you never get to face the failure of realizing, hey, I'm actually not as good as I thought I was. And I also ensure that I never get to live the life that I long for.
So there's a really good book. Like what you're saying, have you heard of Dr. Benjamin Hardy?
That sounds really familiar.
If
What's
you-
the name of the book?
Well, he's written a ton of stuff. But what he started, what's the online blogging platform?
Medium. Beehive.
He was like the
Substack.
number one guy on Medium for a long time in terms of content.
Oh, this is sounding really familiar.
And he just started in college, and so every single day before class, he would write an article.
Yeah.
And he did that and compounded over time, and now he was like the number one read person on Medium. He's working with Dan Sullivan on a series of books. And what this has to do with what we're talking about is probably they wrote The Gap in the Game, which is a really good book. You and I mentioned it off the air.
Yeah.
And then they wrote 10x is easier than 2x. And my first thought was, hey, that sounds kind of like a ripoff of Grant Cardone's 10x, like they're just riding on his coattails. But somebody suggested it to me, so I'm like, fine, I'll read it. When I say read, I mean listen.
Sure.
I listen on Audible.
Yep.
Like 2x, 3x. And what they covered, they had me out the gate with that book, because what they're talking about is Michelangelo. So we're talking about like what were people doing in their 20s. Well, they cover what Michelangelo was doing in his 20s.
Yeah, literally cutting up cadavers and crazy stuff.
Getting crazy with it. But then that allowed him to be able to create these sculptures that were pretty good. And then eventually, he creates like the David and paints the Sistine Chapel and does all this stuff. So it was very interesting. 10x is easier than 2x.
Yeah.
And so anyways, what you're saying is very congruent with like what Benjamin Hardy's been saying for a long time. So it's just interesting to see the parallels.
Yeah. Well, and a part of this is I needed to start somewhere. I was never going to be able to write this book if I didn't write a first something.
Yep.
And a part of it also was that, like with the book, there were so many people who believed in me more than I believed in me. And I think some of this has been recognizing that all these people who see so much good, they can't all be wrong. And so there was like this critical mass where it's like, I lead the very first chapter, which is technically chapter 0, with an equation that says people greater than sign everything, people over everything. And a part of that is I went back and there are at least 94 people who are integral to getting to the point where this book exists, who believed in me at times in high school, outside of in college, when I was starting my detailing business, and my dad believing in me, like all these people where like you remove one or two of these people at strategic times, and I might not physically be here. And that's something that people who sometimes want to have a perfect product, it's all on them. Like they're having to do that, but if you get started, you're having to rely on other people, which is a beautiful thing. It's a good thing. You're adding their experiences, their perspectives. You look at anybody who's achieved anything of substance, there's been somebody, if not one, multiple people who have helped them along on that journey. Absolutely.
Whether it's Michael Jordan, and we're hearing more about his mom, we're hearing more about his trainer, and if it's somebody that runs a famous company, there's people behind them that help them.
Absolutely.
Have you heard the one about FedEx? About the FedEx founder?
I don't think I have.
So supposedly, I don't know if this is true or not. He liked gambling, and they were down to their last $5,000.
Okay.
And then the company was going to be like, FedEx was going to be gone.
Oh wow.
He went to Vegas and gambled, and he won big, and then that was able to pay their payroll for the next 6 months. Wow. So but my point is not necessarily
not
go to
prescriptive
the Bellagio,
advice.
Not prescriptive. Don't go to the Bellagio and say, hey, this is how you're going to keep your company afloat. But the point is that everybody has these stories where they've had to rely on people outside of them, and by just starting, you are doing that.
Yeah. Well, and it also destroys the lie that it has to be perfect for people to care.
Oh, that's true.
And the truth is that when I put out my first newsletter, I went, wow, I can't believe this. Nobody cares. Yeah. And all this pressure I put on myself of it has to be perfect. Literally no one saw it. And now it's so old. It's a year and a half old. Unless someone decides to go all the way back to the oldest first, which I actually still like that newsletter. It's on how I started a service-based business. But no one really no one really read it. And that's actually a beautiful thing, is the first thing that you put out, probably no one's really going to see it. And that's actually like kind of freeing to go, oh, I can do this. And in the grand scheme of life, no one really cares.
Nobody really cares. So take the pressure off.
Yeah.
What is it? That famous phrase, when you're in your 20s, you care about what other people are thinking about. When you're in your 40s, you don't care about what other people are thinking about you. And when you're in your 60s,
ain't nobody thinking about you.
Nobody was thinking about you in the first place, you know? And so that sometimes it just takes age to give that perspective. But like, I have over, at the time of this recording, over 5,600 posts on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just a drop in the bucket. Nobody cares. I have over 2,000, close to 3,000 videos on YouTube. Nobody cares.
Yeah.
You know, so one, it's going to take more activity. And then two, don't worry about when you start, because really, nobody's really watching.
Yeah. And that, especially for guys who are in their 20s going, this really matters.
Yeah.
It's
Passionate
like,
about it.
Yeah. And it does matter. And making it each thing better than the last one does matter. But the outcome is not within my control. What I do control is the input. And so much of what I've optimized for in my life now is going, how intentional can I be with the inputs? Because the newsletter is actually a direct output of what I'm consuming. So 2 weeks ago, I'm in Hungary and I'm going to a modern art museum in Budapest. And that's intentional, where I'm consuming beautiful things. Someone who has taken a tremendous amount of time, effort, and energy to create a beautiful space, because I know that consuming things that are beautiful will actually have the outputs of my newsletter, of the content that I'm creating, of the life that I'm building. It will actually be reflective of what I'm taking in.
You have a great phrase. Was it beautiful inputs?
Yeah, beautiful inputs create beautiful outputs.
I like that.
And I mean, that was really a reflection from being at two different museums in both Prague as well as in Hungary and Budapest specifically, and walking through the Four Seasons. It's kind of crazy to say, but I've been in 4 different Four Seasons hotels in the last 3 months. And just the level of detail, I've read a book on the Four Seasons and how they've created such a beautiful space. But that actually does affect me. Like, I notice that being in beautiful spaces like museums, like the Four Seasons, and looking at the architecture of these cathedrals in Europe, like it has an effect. And I'm so grateful to be in a position to be able to experience these things. And when I'm on YouTube, I'm going, am I consciously consuming content that is beautifully made? Am I consuming incredible storytelling? Am I consuming movies that are by these really well-known directors? Because all of these inputs are going to directly affect the newsletter, what I'm thinking about. And so being aware of the audiobooks that I'm listening to, like all of these things, they're creating something in my internal world.
Mm-hmm. It's the analogy of mud or dirt in a water glass, right? Like, if you just put like a little bit of dirt in a water glass, how much water do you have to then pump through that glass to remove all the dirt, to re-purify the water? And our brains are the same way.
Yeah.
I'm with you. So like Valerie and I, my wife and I, we do not watch like anything that has like a negative tone. Like if we're watching something and it used to be like, oh, there's like a puppy dies or there's a childhood illness, we instantly turn it off. You know, like life's too short. And I don't want those inputs. I prefer to have like a beautiful input, as you're describing.
Yeah.
So we are short on time.
Sure.
We're going to have you back, man. We got to talk about the mobile detailing business next time and how you lived in Ecuador for 77 days.
Yes, sir.
But in the meantime, what is the best way, one more time, for them to find your book, Just Start?
Yeah, so if you go on Amazon and just type in Just Start, it's a green cover. And so you can also go to juststartbook.com. That's actually where my newsletter is, and you can also get the book there. And then if you want to check out my mobile detailing business and you're in Sacramento, that's just Baarns Detailing, Baarns.
So if you're in Budapest, you're not going to detail
Yeah,
the car.
no, I'm not. Although I did see there was this sick car on, I did take a picture that I'll have to post of like a car with some really sick rims with like a cathedral in the background, and I was like, this is such like a cool juxtaposition of like modern and old at the same time. So there was that moment.
Awesome. Well, hey, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the show.
Yeah, absolutely.
If you're anything like me, you are worn out. Life is just so tiring. You've got so much on your plate. Your schedule is full. You don't have time to do open houses and showings and doing those repairs on your home to get it ready for sale. That's why our friend Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, he's got this special offer for you. Not one, not two, but at least 3 cash offers on your home. And listen to this, it's an as-is condition. So that's right, no need to do organizing, no need to do open houses or staging or any of those costly repairs. He'll get you at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. So you can be done, simple, easy, quick. So what do? You just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. He's got a great team that's going to help you every single step of the way. That's why they have so many great reviews. In fact, they have a 5-star Google rating with over 1,000 reviews. So go check them out. It'll be well worth your time. Again, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty, and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So my son, Matt, he will not. I want him to say this so bad. I want him to say it so bad. And I say it to him almost every day.
How old is he?
This one's 3.
Okay.
3. And he's dressed, he's ready to go for the day. And I would say, feeling good, looking good. And then I point to him, and he won't say, and he's supposed to say, ought to be in Hollywood, is what he's supposed to say.
Oh,
but
really?
He's like, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. But anyways, we got the cameras rolling. Ready to go.
You and your wife need to model that for him. So you say that to your wife, and then she says that.
Oh.
He sees that, and then he starts to mimic
do me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, say it again.
Feeling good, looking good, ought to be in Hollywood.
He says ought to be in Hollywood?
Mm-hmm. Because I'm pointing to him,
Right. Love that. That's cute.
So yeah, I think
that's
it would
a
be
precious
great.
age.
Yeah, 3. It'd be fun to say. The next one after that is it was this guy. What was his name? Mike Adams, dear friend, passed away from cancer. But he would always, people ask you how you're doing, how are you? He'd always say, women love me and men want to be like me.
That's right.
How are you doing today, Mike? Women love me and men want to be like me. I'm like, that's good. But what we're talking about today is the wonderful world of real estate and how, there's been a shift since our grandparents were
Okay,
buying
here's
houses.
my question to start off. So for years and years, especially here in California, it was all about the outdoor living space, especially in your backyard, right? The grills and the lounges and the, what do you call them? The gazebos, not the gazebos, pergolas. And just, people were investing in these outdoor living spaces, right? Where it was basically a kitchen outdoors, because especially here in California, the weather's great and folks want to spend a lot of time outdoors entertaining, right? You bring people over, and I thought that was huge. But looking at new construction, it seems like they're eliminating more and more of that outdoor living space. Is that true? Is that what you're seeing?
Absolutely.
What happened?
Teeny tiny backyard.
That's terrible. I think that's horrible.
You want the big yard?
Is that because of COVID? Nobody wants to, well, yeah, of course I want the backyard. Isn't that what everybody wants? Don't you want outdoor living spaces? You can't just spend your whole life locked up in your house.
So if before I had kids, I would have said, no, who goes outside? Like, nobody goes outside. People hang out inside. They're watching the television. They might, lounge in the patio area, but you don't need like a 10,000 square foot lot.
No, I'm not saying that,
area.
But you need a patio and a place for your grill and a place to invite friends over and maybe have a fire going and hanging out. Yeah. We live in California. You advocate so much that California is the best state in the union. We've got great weather, but you're not let's outside.
Clarify some things there. I like California weather. I say I'm willing to pay the California sunshine tax as long as I can.
There you go. But why pay the sunshine tax if you're not out there experiencing it and enjoying it?
Well, I like it. But here's the thing, too, is the bigger yard means more maintenance as well. So there's
they
more
have low
lawn.
maintenance. They have fake lawns. You can
I know, but that
you can put
gotta-
pavers out there and put concrete out there. And
I know, but then it's not a yard anymore.
no, I'm not saying a yard. I'm saying an outdoor living space. You can have bushes and trees and things that are low maintenance. There's a lot. I don't know what happened. It seemed like that was short lived because that was what when I was out home shopping, that was what it's all about. You had very reduced front yards. You know, back in the 40s and 50s, everybody had a big yard and a backyard.
Yeah.
And now nobody has a front yard, but they still had these not expansive backyards, but
They're getting smaller.
But now it's like I've driven by new construction. I'm like, where the heck is the backyard? Yeah. You can literally reach your hand out the window and borrow some sugar from your neighbor.
Exactly. What creeps me out too is that when there's a second story house behind yours, and they can like see directly into your yard. There's like very limited privacy.
Yeah.
Like I'm definitely not a fan.
I don't like that.
But I mean, there are some builders who like put. They try to stagger it so there is some privacy in the yard between single stories and 2-story houses. But you're right. It is. Here's the thing. Builders, they have to maximize what they have. And so if they shrink those lots down, they can build more houses. They can sell more houses. They can make more money. And they can also sell more houses at a more affordable cost.
Yeah.
Right now, builders are hurting. Lennar is now paying buyers agents a commission. As of this recording, they have not done that for a long time, and so you can always tell when the market's getting a little tight if Lennar starts paying agents to bring their buyers by.
Why do they have to make the lot so small? Why can't they provide? I know. So basically, you can just fit more units into a more defined zone that they.
Yeah. So
develop.
if you have 50 acres.
Yeah.
And the lots are smaller. You can fit more houses on that 50 acres.
Yeah.
And
wow.
And honestly, most people like you're an anomaly. People talk about wanting to be in the backyard, but even people that have pools, they have a pool for a couple of years and then they're over it. Like it's just something that they have to maintain.
That's why I was determined not to buy a house with a pool. But I have kids. I don't know. I don't get that. When people envision the American dream of owning their own home, what they picture is doing barbecues in the backyard, having friends over, have the kids playing around. Yeah. You know, how do you play Frisbee and catch with your kids?
But how much space do you really need to be able to do that?
I don't know.
You don't need that much.
You don't
space.
need that much. But what I've seen is it's almost eliminated. It's like an apartment. Patio.
It feels like you're in an apartment. It totally does. But here's the thing too:
it seems like a complete waste to me. I would rather live in an older neighborhood that had that. I think that's a big aspect of the home that you're purchasing. But you're saying it's not, especially for the younger generations. They're spending all their time indoors.
Young and old, like grandma doesn't.
Where do you get your vitamin D? How do you? So you saying nobody goes outside anymore? Do you go to the park?
Well, what's interesting is there's actually like a movement against the large lots. Like they're saying that's a waste of space. They're saying that is a waste to have one person, one family have this big of a lot. What
would you consider a large lot?
I think you're large around 10,000 square feet.
Is that like a quarter of an acre?
Approximately.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're saying a quarter of an acre is too much?
So that's me. That's when if I see a lot that's about 10,000, I'm like, okay, that's a good sized lot. Anything bigger than that is, it's atypical.
Right.
But oftentimes sometimes I'll see houses who are, the square footage is, let's say, 2,700 square feet on a like 2,500 square foot lot.
Right.
How do they do that? Well, it's a multi-story home, and there's like nothing else.
Right.
So, so basically though, what people are saying is they're like, hey, you know what? We need to use these lots. Nobody's in their backyards. They're just growing weeds. There used to be grass. Now it's dead. And so what the state has done is they've actually made it easier to build ADUs, like envision like a mother-in-law unit.
Yeah.
So that we can plop one of those down and you can turn your backyard into an income-producing asset. Or maybe if if you have relatives and they can't live by their own, but they still could live independently, move them in there so that way they're close to you. And my dad right now, at the time of this recording, he's driving hours one way to go visit his parents and help them with like grocery shopping and running errands and stuff like that. And it's a strain on him because he has to drive 90 minutes one way when he's close, and it's 4 or 5 hours when he's out of town.
Sure.
To help his parents, and if they're in your backyard, it really makes it easier on the family, and it's less of a financial strain. I mean,
that makes sense.
So we're seeing more people plopping those ADUs in the backyard.
I don't know. It's what made America different from all the other European countries.
You want to make backyards great again?
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Donald Trump, I hope you're listening. That's your next thing. You had make America healthy again, make America great again. I think make backyards great again. I mean, I don't know. But you're right. We have a housing shortage, especially here in California, and I guess this is one solution. Yeah?
It's a solution. The main solution is affordability.
Yeah.
That's at the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. So how can we still build quality homes that are at affordable price points? So does pricing need to come down? I mean, if you're a homeowner, plug your ears, but I think home prices should come down. I think they're overpriced 100%. And the reason why is because you look at what houses used to be, what they used to cost, compare that to what the wage used to be.
Yeah, I love the math that you do on that. That, I think, is very eye-opening.
Well, if you like the math...
Because people think, just inflation, home prices just go up, but not compared to what...
Yes, so if you haven't heard the math before, I just used my parents' example. So when my parents bought a house, they bought it for $58,500. And... so you're thinking, wow, a whole house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, $58,000. It was a tiny house.
Yeah,
maybe 1,200
and in
square feet.
Kalinga, obviously.
And in Kalinga, of all, the metro, the thriving metropolis that it is. But my dad's income was $18,000 a year. And then I was like, okay, that's interesting. And he's like, oh, wait, your mom started working that year too. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, well, how much was she making? He said, well, because of the teacher contract, whatever, blah, blah, $19,000 a year. So you combine the two, what's that, $37,000 a year? They were making $37,000 a year, and they bought a house for $58,000. Let's just add some zeros to that. Let's say they were making $370,000 a year as a household, and they bought a house for $580,000. Right? I don't know very many people making $370,000 a year who are buying a $580,000 house.
Right.
In our area, that's just outside, right around starter home. For most people,
yeah,
like a 550 house. So, again, the affordability is a challenge. Either incomes need to come up or prices need to come down. And I think the more likely of the two is prices need to come down. So, and if prices come down, more people can buy houses. If there's more people that are able to now purchase a home, you're going to see building increase, and builders will be able to, because if they're having trouble selling a product right now, and people are screaming about a housing shortage, then so what if they build more houses? People can't afford them.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So it needs to become more affordable. And when we come back from the break, a lot of people are saying, well, that's why we need to drop interest rates. That's why interest rates need to go down. Trump's all on Jerome Powell about doing that. When we come back from the break, I'm going to touch on briefly why lowering interest rates might not be the solution.
So you may believe you have the nicest, best, most pristine, attractive home in the entire neighborhood. As soon as you put that for sale sign in the yard, offers are just going to be pouring in. People are going to be busting through your door to give you an offer on your home. But then it goes live, and what happened? No offers. It's crickets. Well, that's because it matters who you work with. Like, for instance, I have someone in my neighborhood, their home has been on the market for at least 3 months, and it's still sitting there without any offers. Again, it matters who you work with. That's why Johnny Jennings and his team at Made for More Realty, why they've been so successful with so many of our listeners, why they were voted #1 team in Roseville for 3 years in a row, why they've got over 1,000 5-star Google reviews. Go check them out for yourself. Don't take my word for it. The proof is in the reviews. And so if you're interested in how Johnny Jennings and Made for More Realty can help you sell your home fast and for the most amount possible, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty. Find out how you can get at least 3 cash offers on your home in as-is condition. Again, just Google Johnny Jennings with Made for More Realty and get more for your home.
This is Made for More Living with Johnny Jennings. Online at madeformorerealty.com.
So there's been a lot of talk, Matt, about how interest rates need to drop. If the federal fund rate drops, if they drop the federal fund rate, then that'll have a trickle-down effect. Mortgages will be cheaper. Loans on cars will be cheaper. I mean, there's even talk that if he can get it down to if President Trump can get it down to a certain point, that he can even eradicate over $400 billion in debt from the nation's books. And so there's a lot of talk about getting these interest rates down. But what I find interesting is a juxtaposition. So there's typically nothing new under the sun, right? There's always been somebody that's, not always, most of the time, there's been somebody that's done something similar. And so let's see how that played out for them. I get it. Every situation's a little bit different.
Right.
But Japan, do you know what their Bank of Japan interest rate is?
No. What is it?
0.5%. Okay. And that's the highest it's been for a long time. They actually had negative interest rates at one point.
Communist country. Japan. I'm sorry. For some reason, I thought you said China.
No, not China. Yeah,
Japan. Right.
Japan. Friendly Japan.
Right.
And but they actually had negative interest rates at one point to try and jumpstart their economy, try to get things going.
Right.
So imagine we're complaining about 6-7% interest rates on homes right now. Imagine if you could get a 1%, 0.5% interest rate on a house.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
That did not work for Japan, and it hasn't worked for a long time. And so what I think is going to happen...
But just very different economy, very different country.
But they were, at the time...
They don't have the same housing market that we have.
But what we're talking about is, does dropping interest rates stimulate the growth?
Okay.
And that's the thing. And dropping interest rates, yes, stimulates growth, but it can also spur inflation. And that's what happened to Japan.
Right.
Is they dropped it, and then it spurred inflation, and they have not recovered since the 90s. They've been 30 years dealing with this. And we've been dealing with this for, 3 years.
Sure.
So when we talk about dropping the interest rates, if the Fed, let's just say the Fed does drop the interest rates, is it even going to drop? So what happens is...
Well, they're talking about 1/4%, 0.5%, right?
But they did that. They dropped it twice last year.
Okay.
And mortgage rates went up. Interest rates went up. So what you're doing is they're selling debt. And if people are not willing to buy the debt at a certain interest rate, they're not going to buy it at a lower interest rate.
So you're criticizing basically the president's push for the Fed to lower rates, right? You're saying that might not be a good idea.
I don't understand. Let the market do what the market's going to do. And already we've been combating inflation. They're saying, hey, it's handled, it's good, it's great. But when somebody says that they're combating inflation, when the Fed says they're combating inflation, that is really code for they want to increase unemployment. They want less people to have jobs. So every single month, as the Trump administration is celebrating that they have record job reports.
Yeah.
People having these jobs, which is a good thing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but if the labor market is strong and then you slam interest rates down, that is just a disaster that's going to produce inflation. And it's not going to, and so here's the thing is, and this is the key point I hope people walk away with, is that just because the federal fund rate drops interest rates, that does not mean you're going to be able to refinance the mortgage on your house. That does not mean you're going to get a cheaper mortgage. Again, they dropped it twice last year, and the mortgage rates went up. People just weren't willing to, the countries that invest, that buy American debt, the hedge funds that buy American debt were not willing to do it. It was not seen as a sound investment given the times. So even if they decide to drop another 0.25%, another 0.5%, is it really going to have an end result on the consumer? I don't think it will. I think the Fed is on the verge of losing control, similar to how the Bank of Japan lost control in the 90s.
Well, that's why there's this pushback. And that's why they said they're taking their time and that they may do 2 cuts this year, but they're going to wait and see. So, they said they were going to do 4 cuts at the beginning of the year. And now they said they might do 2 cuts. Yeah, well, I think they're in agreement with you. You got to wait and see. They're pushing back on the president's.
Yeah. I think Jerome Powell has done a fantastic job. all in all, I mean,
but obviously, if you're the president, you have a lot invested in making sure that the economy continues on and grows, and you want all of the above. You want all of the above. And so, President Trump I know he wants to make America great long term, but he wants to see a successful presidency. And that includes us not getting into a recession. And that includes the economy. That's why he was elected, for goodness sakes. People wanted to see the United States become more affordable again and have a thriving
and
economy.
He's done a lot of great stuff.
Right. So he wants to continue that on.
He wants to do a lot of great stuff.
He wants to continue that momentum, and that he thinks by cutting the rate, that will, at least in the short term, get people excited.
Potentially. But I'm just saying, one, the rates don't walk hand in hand together. Just because you drop the federal fund rate does not mean mortgage rates are coming down. And then two, if you do that, I don't think the margins are there. I don't think China's been the number one purchaser of U.S. debt for a long time. They are backing off of that. They are trying to wean themselves off of that and look in other investments because of for obvious reasons, right? There's a geopolitical war. They're taking Taiwan back. That is their stated goal. And why are they going to help prop up their main competitor's economy? By purchasing their debt. And so the whole idea of dropping the federal fund rate, I don't think it's the solution. I think the real solution is home prices dropping. That is what I think is the long-term solution. But that's not the popular. That's not going to get people reelected, and that's not going to help. People.
Well, I mean, politicians don't have a say in that. It's the homeowners, right?
Yeah, but if you were saying, hey, you know what, I want to go out and I want to make homes more affordable. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, we need to figure out a way to get prices down. You're going to irritate a lot of homeowners, and many homeowners are people who vote. Right. Yeah, absolutely. And so if you're taking money out of their pocket, to help other people get into home ownership, that's not necessarily a winning ticket. And what the Republicans, now the big beautiful act or whatever they call it, bill has been passed. They need to perform, and if they don't perform, a lot of them are going to lose seats. Yeah, I get you. Right, and so by dropping the interest rates, I think short term, Trump's hoping that it will give them the bump that they need to get past those midterm elections. Yeah, but long term, it's just going to cause more pain. Well, that's why he's taking his time, and that's why you have this balance of power. I love that. I love the balance of power. Like there's so many people out there who are like, hey, let's get rid of the Electoral College, or let's move to socialism, or there needs to be like, they just don't understand what they're really talking about. Like the whole balance of power, the grittiness of like Trump fighting with the judges, or like the House and the Congress not getting along. Right. That's the beauty of that's the beautiful thing about American politics. Yeah. I agree. So do you think that homeowners have just been spoiled over the past, number of years, and they just need to come to reality that you're not going to get what you've seen so many of your neighbors get over the past decade, and that we're entering a season of reality of lower home prices? So there's a lot of different things there. So obviously, the market is cooling in the Sacramento region. You just flip on the news, you look up any stats, you see it in any newspapers. You can read this. This isn't just a realtor giving you biased information. The market is cooling, but the good news is, if the market's cooling and you're selling a house, most people need a place to live. So if you're selling a house, that means you can also buy a house for less money. So it's not all bad to have prices soften a little bit. But where it does end up hurting people is if they are retiring and they're planning to move out of state and they want to buy a place in like a state that's less expensive. Right. And now they're going to live off the equity and then have their home paid for. And now that's their retirement plan. Well, the Carolinas are getting more expensive. Nashville's just exploded. Texas is getting more expensive. Florida's, all these places that Californians used to go, that their money does not go as far, and combine that with their home prices not just going gangbusters, crazy expensive compared to those other places. That's where softening prices is going to, I think, hurt more of that interstate migration. Because why would I sell my house here, buy a comparable house there, and then have to deal with no friends. I have no support system. Like if there's a financial incentive, we see many people doing that. But if there's no financial incentive, then why am I going to take the emotional hit?
Yeah.
So I think you might see less interstate migration, honestly.
Depending on what happens with gas prices over the next couple of years.
Oh my word, yeah. I'm really curious.
Because it doesn't matter. Everybody's going to feel that pain.
They've been coming down, and some just like, oh, please just stay down. You know?
Well, we've got 2 oil refineries that are shutting down.
I know.
Then you've got the carb mandates and the gas tax that everyone voted and approved for. And you've got politicians down in Sacramento who don't give a rip. They don't even calculate what the impact is going to be. They say, oh, that's not our job. Well, our job is just to focus on this.
Yeah.
We don't consider the impact that's going to have on commuters. And it's not just, the gas that you put in your tank. It's Amazon delivery drivers and Uber, and everything comes in on a truck. That's going to impact prices for everything.
Absolutely. And you said an interesting thing about politicians. It's not my job, right? I think there's a miscommunication or a misunderstanding about what is a real estate agent's job. People are like, well, I recently had a conversation. It's like, well, all you're going to do is this, this, and this, and this. And I was like, well, we were talking about a home seller. I'm like, I'm going to put your house I'm going to advertise it in over 80 countries. I'm going to put it on luxury magazines like Wall Street Journal, Baarns, News, Market Watch, all that stuff, right? So you're going to have ads in all these we have a Bay Area buyer marketing plan. We're going to not only capture stills, video, and 3D tours of your property, but I will actually, he's like, every agent does that. I said, yes, most agents do. First of all, not every agent does it. Second of all, the agents that do, they just put it on the MLS and then they wait, right? And they pray that the home sells. We will actually put marketing dollars behind it, promoting your property. We're going to run ads promoting your property. It's not just going to be living on the MLS and on Zillow.
Right.
And so there's this huge disconnect between what agent, and then that's only the beginning. Then we have to have the offers come in.
But wait, there's more.
Oh, wait, there's more. Then we have to have the offers come in. Then we have to negotiate the offers. Then we have to go through the entire escrow process. Like, there's so much of this real estate that a good real estate agent does, that it's way beyond just putting it on the MLS and then cashing in a commission check 45 days later. If it was that easy, there'd be people staying in the industry longer than a couple of years. Right. So if you'd like to learn more about how we can help you still get top dollar for your home in today's market, just go to madeformorerealty.com. I think that's it for today's show.